Hi everyone, this is Salve Women, and we are here with Gerald, my husband, and it's been a long time, so I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. And the topic of discussion is, what can you shed some light, give and take the title, of what you've learned from your past to what you wish you would have known in the past as a child or maybe a young adult compared to what you feel like you have arrived to
now. Okay. So I would say things I probably would have done differently if I would have known when I was starting my mid-20s. Right now I'm 51. Okay. So these are some of the things I would definitely want to know more, or I would have changed. Now what I know now.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah.
All right. So the big first thing is, before I was 30, I started my own business, right, which was a consulting company that did custom software, okay? And from there, that was the last time I was basically on a W-2, someone else, a W-2 employee. So from that point on, that was good because of the fact that at that point, I can start controlling how much money I'd actually make, versus if you're employed by someone, you're told how much you can make or whatever the market value is. Okay. So, but that was a good step. But then the part that I would have done differently, which I wasn't really in tune with, what I realized later, is that my sequence of buying things were wrong. Okay, so in the past, in my 20s and 30s, I would buy luxury first and then do investments afterwards, where it should have been the other way around.
We enjoyed it though.
Yeah,
it's not like we didn't.
Yeah, that's true. But
we were young.
Yeah. But then here's the big thing, right? The big thing is, if you change your sequence, okay. When I look back on some of the items that I bought luxury-wise, I could have took that same amount of money and bought something else that was like a performing asset that actually would appreciate, okay? And then I'd have a cash flow that can pay for these luxury items, so I can continue to recycle them out if I wanted to. So like a good example would have been like maybe a car wash or a small apartment or even a house, okay? Something that cash flows and brings something in. Okay. So looking back, like I mentioned, that was the biggest kicker. That
and I
first
told you
one.
not to live in any regrets, but it's really good that you bring this up for those listening, because there are people probably in their 20s now and are like, wow, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm buying these nice things, I'm enjoying them, but before you know it, you're going to blink, and then you're going to realize you're in this position where you're like, oh, wow, if I'd known that then, I could have had a head start or an earlier start. Yeah. And we didn't come from that background where you had someone to tell us. Actually, you had some really wonderful people
give you advice. I had some people that were professionally, that gave me some really good, excellent advice, right? And then I could see some of the things that they were doing in their lives, which I went and took the things I liked from them, right? But yeah, at that part, just that little sequence, and some people don't really realize that until later, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
So like
now
most people realize that, man, I should have bought more real estate due to this awesome thing called inflation, right? Because inflation, over time, it kills debt. To make a long story short. But some people don't
think that as well, and that's it depends on what end you're in, you're at for that one. So that's good. That's really good. And so anything else you want to add to that part? Because that was really good. I really think that people who are listening would really think about, wow, I could start today, and make that shift today.
And then the other thing I would say, looking back, definitely always focusing on continuing to improve yourself and making sure the people that you're around you are people who are going in the same direction that you want to be.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Right?
Yeah,
transition to. Because when I look back now, there's a certain time period that, I plateaued, our family kind of plateaued, right? And a lot had to do with who do we actually have around us?
Right.
Did we, if you're the smartest person in the room, right? you need to probably find another room to at least interact with at least 50% of your time.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get better.
Yes.
Right? And things never stay the same.
Yeah. When your hunger is gone, you become comfortable.
Yeah.
And
Comfort kills progress over time.
It does. It really does. And that was something that we have had many discussions about. And it's so good to wake up and learn from that, because now you can move forward being aware of it. Awareness is everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because now you go, I don't want to do that again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay if you've done it once and then you realize from your, whatever errors you made, and now you can reflect and go, okay, now here I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to move forward better and stronger and wiser from it all. Yeah.
And the other thing I would add that I realize now that I didn't realize before is like there's a pattern of luxury that comes through. So usually with certain people, depending on what financial level you're at, it can start off with cars, and then it can go from cars to the level of boat you have, and then from the next level after that, if you have a jet or a plane, then a jet, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like these traps, I call them like luxury traps now. They're not like, an essential, right?
But at the same time, I love how you always have something that inspires you, because why not? Why not say that you can arrive at it, right? And I love that strong mentality in you, where you don't just say to yourself, well, this is what I have and I'm good, I've arrived to it. And now you're like, well, what next? What next? Because
that goes back to you want to stay progressive, because the other thing I realized too is when at the age I am now versus when I was in my 20s and early 30s, right? Yeah. And when you want luxury stuff, which is nice, right? Yeah. But it's just a matter of what you prioritize, and what you buy first, because again,
those
which
I can
always, I will, luxury stuff is cool today, but it's a cycle, right? Yeah. So it gets cycled out and it's no longer cool. So you have to buy the next cool luxury thing, right? And you just keep getting beat up on this, right? Versus, and this is like one of the big killers, versus let's say you bought like, just something like a duplex, right? And you held it for like 10 years, okay? So now at that point, you can continue to use the cash flow that comes from your duplex to buy whatever car you want anytime, or just lease it actually. That's actually even better at that point, right? If that's a priority to you. But again, there's, that's the biggest thing I can stress.
Well, because when you're young, you don't look that far ahead. And now when we look back, we're like going into 30 years together.
Yeah, but some of it, I don't know if it's looking back far ahead. Some of it, I think it has to do with just basically,
being in the moment.
Not being in the moment, but it's like who are you surrounded by and who's giving you some good advice or who has influence with you, right?
Yeah, I always think of that as like your Jiminy Cricket. Like you're always your conscience, always reminding you what you should be doing instead of what you're wanting to do.
Exactly. Like I'll give you an example. When I graduated from college, right? And then I started this company called Microcrafts, and the CEO of Microcrafts, I was like one of the youngest. Actually, at the point, I was the youngest employee there, right?
Such wonderful people
and
you
so,
work with, by the way.
Yeah, good person, good spiritual person. As far as like, I looked at him as like, God, this guy's giving me so much advice. Is this guy like related to me? Are you like my, secret uncle or big brother I don't know about or something, right?
And you don't realize your blessings
exactly,
because you think they come a dime a dozen until you look back.
But what I realized with him was that he gave me some really, really important game changer advice. One of them was like, hey, you can go out and have a wedding, right? Yeah. Or you can take that same money, right? Instead of spending on people that most likely are not going to be around with you in the future, right? You can take that same money and go buy a house, right? So which one would you really want to play with, right?
Right.
And that made a lot of sense.
Yes.
Because he's like, you can have a big wedding or whatever, and you're just going to be spending money to impress people that aren't going to be there. Like a large majority of them are not going to be there with you through your journey. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So how important is that to you, right? Yeah. And then he mentioned one other thing. It's more of a woman thing anyway, right?
Right? I mean, if you think about
that was his opinion on it, right? Yeah. But I did take his advice on that because. It made sense,
I didn't have a vision of like this grand wedding or anything. Yeah. It just was never that way because, I don't know. I mean,
Well, obviously it wasn't important to you.
It wasn't
if it was
important to me.
really
So
important to you, then we would have made it happen, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what he said, is that if it was important to you, we would have made it happen. But my thing is, I'm 100 or 0. And so my thought is, like, if I am going to have something grand, we're just, it made sense to get a home first. And we were just lucky we both had that mentality.
And then the other part that was interesting about that was that he also mentioned what area I should have bought in, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't buy in the area that he suggested, which, it kicked me later.
But we
it's
did
like,
look.
We did look. We bought in an area where we can get more house for the money, which was still good. It ended up really being a win-win,
for sure.
But it could have been a lot bigger win, right? If I understand a little bit more about appreciation and so forth, right?
Right.
So to make a long story short, like, we could have made out a lot better on that investment, right? But we still made out good though.
Right.
But it could have been a lot better if I would have took that advice.
Right. And these are things we're telling you because you have to be okay with the choices you make but you have to own it, and we're owning it. But perhaps for those of you who are just right in the beginning of your relationship, those are things to consider, and they're big because you don't want to have any regrets. You just want to have to think to yourself, well, what could I be learning right now from what other people are giving advice to? Because like you said, he had some angels that gave him some really good advice, and sometimes you just it's like one goes from one ear to the other, and you look back and go, should have listened, but we made it okay.
We still defined, had to make up a little bit, but that's fine.
And that's it. As you get to that age where you just go, okay, whoa, now it's wake up time, and now it's grind, right? Like you got to really, really push hard now, reflecting from the lessons.
Exactly. And I think the bigger part is making sure that you learn, right, and then you move forward and not make the same mistake.
Yeah, that's the biggest part.
And then the other part, as I mentioned, not to have people around you that are always going to keep you too comfortable, because when you're too comfortable, you don't progress, you don't grow, right? And then when you feel like, I should have progressed or go, is when you end up being around another group that's at a higher level, and you're like, man, I should be right there with them, but you know what, I had all these other people kind of get me comfortable, right?
Yeah.
So then I think making sure you select the right people to be around with the right percentage of your time makes a big difference.
That is words of
and that doesn't mean like, I'm not referring to like if there's someone is, you don't spend any time with certain people, right? But my point is basically the people who are going to help move you to the direction that you want to go, those are the people you want to be around the most. Okay, regardless of what that is. So, and they're going to have influence on you. So you want to make sure that they're going to be good quality people. Okay.
Not just with experience, but
and the progressive
their spirit. They're everything about them. Is this, like you said, it's okay to hang out with, sometimes have dinner with people, but you already know. When it's grind time, you got to surround yourself with people that'll push you forward.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's like I realize now, especially in business, it's a team, right?
Yeah.
And same thing for family. Family's a team.
Yeah.
No matter how you cut it, right?
No matter how you cut it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And, so if you're not working in sync as a team, you're not going to be progressing as a team. And everyone has a role, right?
Yeah. I always think about the path and the direction. If everybody's going different directions, you're not heading in the same direction.
Yeah, and you may not be progressing as a group.
You're not progressing as a group.
Yeah. And I realized a lot of times with groups who are non-progressive, they, a lot of times that they use that same time and that energy towards negative things.
That's really,
so
and
I realized the
gutter.
correlation of, you look at the people whose negatives outweigh their positives, right? You don't see very much progression with them, or who are the people they're associated with.
And they feed themselves that same justification. I think the word is commiserate, where they just keep talking about all the bad days and all of their hardships and all of their standstill, and everything's immobile, and so they're all stuck there. And it's like you're literally, if you think about it, you're like in a gutter, and everyone's just talking about the same thing over and over, not even realizing that we all could stand up and probably reach and get out of here,
Yeah,
but no one's
and
wanting
experience
to
different
try.
things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I would say that was another thing I've learned at an older age, is the making sure you're around the right people majority of your time, right?
Yeah, majority of your time. Yeah, it's fun to be sometimes. Just relax. But yes, grind time, get to work. Yes. So good job. And I really always enjoy having these conversations with you. I hope you guys got something from us. You know, whether it be little or be a lot, then we'll see you next time. Anything else? How do you want to end this? Anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good.
Lasting thoughts? All right. Thank you for listening. Happy New Year. And we will see you when we see you.
Bye.
Bye.